When I think of kindness, I think of kin. I think of my family.
I think of just doing something out of the goodness of your own heart.
I think about just the little things that we can do every day.
I'm from South Africa and we have a phrase called Ubuntu, which means I am because you are. And to me, that is just the definition of kindness.
Giving of yourself even unsung heroes.
Helping one another and doing things that will make things giving back and bringing
Kindness economics.
Hello and welcome to the Kindness Economics podcast. I'm your host, Candice Mama, and I'm so excited to be here today with Kristin Weixelbaumer. Weixelbaumer. Yes, I knew I was going to butcher that one. But we are in the Black Betty studio. Black Betty, for those people at home who do not know, is this very bespoke jewelry company in the heart of Cape Town and soon to be global. And Kristin, when I ask you words like, describe yourself, or I say those kind of sentiments, like what's the first thing that comes to mind?
Before anything, I'd say I'm passionate and pretty driven. So when it comes to kind of creating Black Betty and the whole story behind that, it was literally following the heart and trusting the process and following the path that I was led, was going on, and it all came together so beautifully. When thinking of Black Betty and its core values, and it definitely has a rebellious nature, but there is something at Black Betty that we aim to do something for everyone. And so we've got this whole inclusive aspect around it, which was the story behind BB Club and how we collabed, and you're our game changer. But our thing is, when it comes to my passion and how much I love what I do in creating jewelry every day and working with, Mother Nature's materials, the stones, the metals, and also the spiritual aspect of it, when looking at the gemstones and where those come from and what qualities they bring, that story through in all these different ways. So you've got this incredible opportunity to design and create something so beautiful that someone's going to wear on their person, and you still bringing in and trying to harness the aspect of kind of the gemstones and what those do for people, and how much stronger it makes you when you connect to your core and reminding them of who they are. So having that kind of being the underlying current of what we do.
I love that, and you covered so many aspects. So at AIM, we really look at indigenous knowledge systems, and in those systems, nature's so at the heart of it. It's also about believing that there is a greater force and there is this interconnectedness. So you spoke about gemstones, you spoke about following this purpose and passion and drive, right, that is indescribable in many ways. And so for me, I want to know, as we're looking at kindness economics and we're looking at, how do we center people and passion in order for people to value and appreciate nature and those resources that you were talking about, those gemstones. How do you think that in your business and in life in general, it's so natural to you to value these things, and how do you think other people could start valuing them in the same way?
Wow, that is such an amazing, in-depth question. So kindness, I fully, it's the most important thing. Kindness and compassion and patience and presence, and trying to bring that into everything you do is, for me, it's so important. And when I look at the pieces and the designs we create, and that, as I said earlier, going to be worn on a person, and that's both with wearing a piece of jewelry and owning those materials, and allowing that to remind you as a person who you are, back down to your core. Kindness is there alongside love. And so when you're being true and authentically yourself, those aspects are, they're there, and they're so important. So I also don't know if I've answered that question very well.
No, you're answering all the questions well. And also there's another thing which I love at AIM, and it's this philosophy about failure. So we believe that, failure is a part of growth and learning. And so there is no such thing as failure, really, right? We go through life feeling like we have to show this perfection. But the truth is, and I'm sure you can say this in jewelry too, it's the imperfect pieces that are the most beautiful, right? And so where do you think that comes from? This need for all of us to show up and present ourselves in this unattainable and this overly perfect way?
I mean, the world that we're currently living in is so scary. And also when you think of how everyone, when they're born and when they're on their path trying to become their being, what the world throws at them, their journey starts like causing them to find ways to survive. And so with that, at the core thing everyone really wants is love and to be appreciated. And I was actually listening to a podcast the other day, and it was fascinating. It was actually literally about this, where the girl was saying how she always wants herself to be absolutely perfect, and she takes like an hour and a half to get ready every time she goes out, and she just wants to kind of let go of that. And the guy that was doing the podcast, I've forgotten who it is, he brought it down to, you're trying to be perfect for other people, and therefore you are trying to get that love from outside of you and not where it should come from within, because you're never going to be fulfilled from it coming outside. And so that's in terms of everyone trying to be perfect, it's perfection. I know everyone wants perfection, but for me it's so not important, because the imperfections, the cracks, the bruises, the scars that you've learned along the way that have like shown you the biggest lessons, those are what make you you. And if you own that and you allow that, I mean, that's how the light gets in, from Leonard Cohen's beautiful song. It's like that the cracks are what causes the light to come in, and that makes you you. And if you can appreciate that and own that and value everyone else's imperfections at the same time, it allows everyone to show up in their true authentic state. And yeah, when it comes to our jewelry, that's also, we value that. I mean, one of the main reasons I got into jewelry was my love for the Polki diamond, and the Polki diamond is all about its flaws. No two Polki diamonds are the same. Where you think about the manufactured perfect diamonds, about like having no flaws, all as much brilliance as possible. And for me, I just fell in love with these Polki diamonds that have these crazy inclusions and these natural markings from, as they came through the earth. And we then paint silver behind them and then wrap them in gold and allow those imperfections to shine bright and bold. And that's, for us, like, the imperfections are the most important part of our business, I'd say, actually.
And I love that. And I also love how you've brought it around, right? From this personal need to connect, because essentially when we want love from others, it's because we're disconnected from ourselves, right? And the love that we were naturally born with, as you said, that we lose along the way. And I think that's the beauty of the journey of whether it's jewelry, whatever manifestation you choose to have in the world. And what I've always noticed about coming into this brand or stepping in is, the kind of people that you choose to have in the space, right? You have a very diverse workforce, and everyone always seems happy. People seem like they want to be here. And I think for me, as I look at, creating and crafting this economic system, it's about when we show people compassion, the ones that show up for us, whether that be in a workforce, as an employee, whatever that is, when we treat them with compassion and empathy, they show up for us too. And so for you, when you're looking at other businesses and you're looking at how the world economy is running right now and things are collapsing because of greed, because of that seeking more and power, how do you center people at the heart of your business?
I mean, I suppose for me, I want to create a space where I'm also very happy and very connected. And when I come to work every day, I'm showing up as my best version of myself. That for me is very, very important. And so with that, I suppose I'm asking everyone else that works for Black Betty, to be that too, and to come up and be their beautiful, authentic selves and be happy here, and allow Black Betty to challenge and allow them to grow and push them and enjoy the whole process. And if it's not, and this obviously happens from time, like I'm over, everyone's different journeys, and they find that they don't need that path or those lessons anymore, and then it's like always a very beautiful like farewell and go on your own way to go and journey and grow more. And so Black Betty's almost become this beautiful space where I only want people to be happy when they come to work here, and but at the same time also being challenged and creating beautiful stuff, and to just own it and own themselves. And it's the same thing about wearing the jewelry. I want people to connect. That jewelry piece there's a story there behind the stone, behind the metal, behind the design, and for me it's like it's asking them. It's going, this is your reminder, your what's your intention? Like, that's me. It reminds me of my family. What are my values? That's who I am. Come, let's do this. I've got this day. Let's go and explore and do whatever we need. And I want everyone that comes into Black Betty space to create that and be that, and yeah.
And that's amazing. There's so many similarities I see between you and Jack Manning Bancroft, who was on the previous episode, but he's also the founder of AIM. And there's this chaotic nature to our work environment because we don't run according to hierarchy at AIM, but there's also this ability that Jack has to bring in people from different walks of life, different experience and expertise levels to come and invest in a vision. That's what we're all there for. Like all of us come from Jake, one of our colleagues. He's an actor on Home and Away back in Australia, and he works with us. And then there's me doing my thing with the speaking and branding. And there's just so many of us like this, right, that come together for a collective vision. And I don't think a lot of leaders have the capacity to inspire that vision without fear. And so what is how do you have that? Like, how do you approach it? Do you think kindness can really be that powerful?
I can't help just coming back to who I am, and how my most inspiring being in my life would be my mother, and how she holds herself, and how she, has run her own business and run her family. And it's something where, just being bold, being true to yourself, and being kind, and owning those elements, and also kind of at the end of the day being able to look yourself in the mirror and go, how did you do today? Hey, I see you. What did you do that wasn't that great? What can you better? And for me, it's like you obviously only want to make this world a better place, and what you do every day needs to mean something, obviously mainly to you, but to everyone else. It's just, for me, it's so important to have that passion and that drive and belief in what I do every day. And so trying to inspire that in all different elements, and even the way I kind of with my friends, and asking them to always try and be their most authentic selves. It's just part of definitely who I am, and it's a very important thing
really
for me.
Touching on, which is so powerful, is that ability to tap into our ancestral knowledge, right? Because we get so disconnected in the hustle and bustle of, comparison, of wanting more, of greed, of being told that we'll only be enough when we amass a certain amount or become famous or whatever it is for us. Insert it there, and that's whatever it is for you. And that's really the beauty of what you're talking about, is that sometimes when we connect back to the ancestors that have come before us to create us and what we stand for, that is the true power. It's tapping into that self, right? And I think that's where all of my work is centered around, including Kindness Economics. It's that bringing you back home, and that home is yourself, and disconnecting from all these things you think are supposed to make you happy and bring you all this fulfillment. And I love it. And so it brings me to, a conversation where the industry, there's so many industries in the world that face so much, backlash and feedback on their business practices. And of course, the jewelry and mining and all of that industry becomes one of the topics. But how do you manage in this kind of a climate to set yourself apart and still be ethical in your business practices, in how you choose your stones? I mean, you spoke about the very diamond that brought you into this business. How do you find that balance between, being able to grow and scale whilst knowing that you probably won't grow and scale at the, same speed as your competitors because you are choosing to do it more ethically.
Yeah, the sustainable practice is one of the most, another very important area for Black Betty. So and that's another thing for us. We are always looking at how we can reduce our carbon footprint. So when it comes to kind of even like our packaging and our metals, our silver and gold is 100% recycled. So and then our gemstones, it's because we appreciate and love the flawed, normally those are kind of almost discarded, and like the diamonds, the Polki diamonds, can almost be seen as offcuts. So where that's, they aren't important for certain people anymore. So it's such an important thing for us to do that and inspire that among people and the way we live our lives and other jewelers. And I can see it's also been a beautiful knock-on effect of people just inspiring others to be better, do better, and be more sustainable. So they're beautiful brands that we follow internationally, and watching what they do and coming up with ideas, and we've got to find a way to do that. We've got to try and find a way to be less and be like always looking after that, or looking after our planet. And that's the scariest thing about obviously jewelry also, and mining, and thinking of what goes on behind that. With diamonds, obviously with our bespoke and everything, we follow the Kimberley process, which is very much about making sure that there are no blood diamonds involved. And it will always be an ongoing process in terms of ensuring that we are doing the best we can, and we can always do better. They're always knowing that we can always do better in every single way. So it's across all areas of the business. It's always a growth, we continue to grow and try and learn how we can do better. So yeah.
And I love that. I think that is one of the keys, that love for nature that you touched on at the beginning of the conversation. I think it does carry through. And I think when people listen to these kind of conversations, I want to show that most industries can still continue to thrive when we change the model, right? Just because, and it's also not a comparative thing. It's not about saying capitalist is awful and this system is better. It's about saying as human beings we have to evolve. And we know that what's happening isn't working, but how do we still sustain and move forward and enjoy the things that we love without killing the planet, without killing each other, And so for me, it brings me back to the final question. And that is, if everything you ever did was erased from history, and there was only one thing you could keep, whether that is a philosophy, a piece, an identity, an idea, whatever it is for you, how would you want people to remember you?
Crikey. You know what? I'm going to go back to my original, one of the main reasons why I started Black Betty, and my love for the Polki diamond, which you brought up, was the imperfection. That for me is such a strong part of the business, and just in every single way of looking at the planet, looking at someone's being, someone's soul, accepting your imperfections, and allowing yourself to be imperfect and loving that. And for me, it's like also when we look at Black Betty and then you bring up the name Black Betty. For us, like when a woman is in charge of her, owns her confidence, as you do very well. For us, it's like she's owning her black, and the black represents, when you look at the dark and the light, everyone always tries to focus, is always aiming to focus on the light, and what's the perfect parts of them, and everything that they're very happy to show everyone. We want people to bring up their dark, bring up the stuff that they try and hide in the shadows, because when you do the whole and try and bring it all together, that's when you become your true authentic self, and you're honoring every part of you, and that makes you become the strongest version of yourself. So for me, it would then have to be, I think it would be the Polki diamond, and because it's just reminding everyone that their imperfections and their shadows are as if not more beautiful than their light, and to bring that in and let it shine.
What a way to end this conversation. Thank you so much, Kristin, for bringing me into your beautiful studio. And as you guys know, you can go and check it out on YouTube. And just for your time, and I think for allowing us to sit with that thought about, let us all be the Polki diamond. Let us appreciate our imperfections. So that is the thought I'm going to leave you all with. Thank you so much for being on the Kindness Economics podcast with Candice Mama. I look forward to seeing you guys again soon.
Kindness economics. Kindness economics.